What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. First and foremost, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit the post notification bell so you'll know whenever I put out any new content. Dan put out a game preview last week, even though I did do one with Steven Rose. But if you did not know, I've been saying it, in my content. Game previews I now plan on being Friday, since I feel like that's really when you'll get a better feel of the matchup, more clear look at the injury report and all that. But that's just a new announcement. Game previews I do plan to be on Friday, maybe even Saturday sometimes, but definitely going to try to put them out on Friday. Falcons and Commanders, third straight year these two teams are facing off. The Falcons, week 6, 3-2, breaking out their throwbacks once again for the second of 3 times they will this season. Going up against the Washington team, 2-3. They got out to a fast start, but they have been drifting down the past few weeks. So, matchup between two NFC teams, two teams still hovering right around that 500 mark. Falcons a game over, Washington a game under, looking to get back there. Falcons look to continue to stay undefeated at home. Desmond Ridder looks to continue to be undefeated at home. So you got an interesting matchup on your hands Sunday. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. Looking at where these two teams stand, obviously the Falcons coming off a nice win last week versus Houston, getting back on track. The offense finally showing the potential we know that they have had. Standing at 3-2 right now, only a half game back in the NFC South from the Buccaneers, who had a bye week. They have a very tough test against the Detroit Lions this week in Tampa. So if the Falcons were to win and Tampa loses, that probably puts them back atop the NFC South. But definitely still right in the thick of things. Washington, obviously a bit more dicey. 2-3, they have the 1 or 2 undefeated teams in the NFL remaining. Philadelphia Eagles in that division, 5-0, and the Cowboys only a game above them, but they are 3-2. They still have yet to play Dallas twice, but Washington is in kind of a little bit of a do or die spot here early on, because they are obviously looking to stay not necessarily in that division race, but in the mix for maybe a potential wild card in the NFC. Even though it is still early in the season, this matchup, you got a Washington team looking to stay in the mix, and a matchup that could very well go a long way in the end of determining how the seeding turns out in the NFC. Looking at the injury report, the Falcons, all good. Caleb McGarry obviously was the biggest concern, but he is all good. He is ready to go. He will be starting at right tackle. Washington, bit more injuries. All these guys except for Christian Holmes, they are going to be ready to go Sunday. Abada, he also is technically listed as questionable, but he did, I believe, practice Thursday and Friday, so he should be ready to go by the time Sunday rolls around, at least would be my estimate. So obviously you see a guy like Curtis Samuel, Charles Leno there, who is an starting offensive tackle for Washington. But one way or another, both these teams heading into this matchup as close to 100% as you can be, which I think you love to see. So getting into this game, last week for the Falcons, the offense finally got it back on track. We saw Desmond Ridder have the best game of his young career so far. First 300-yard game, passed for a touchdown, an insane play by Bijan Robinson, ran for a touchdown. But most of all, he got the ball into the hands of his playmakers. It wasn't just one guy. It was Kyle Pitts. It was Drake London. It was Bijan. It was Jonnu Smith. Matt Collins had a few catches. You even got Scotty Miller involved. You just traded for Van Jefferson. Will he play Sunday? I don't know. But one way or another, the Falcons, they showed last week they are capable of getting the balls into the hands of all of their playmakers on offense. Not just locking in and having a Bijan Robinson game or a Drake London game or a Kyle Pitts game. It's where everyone can come together in the entire offense that allows the entire offense to take a game over. Which you love to see, especially it feels like the Falcons are definitely more comfortable at home. We've said this time and time and time again. This is a team that clearly feels more comfortable at home. And last week, they were able to get it going. Desmond Ridder has still not lost a home start yet. But obviously, that can change at any time, and it could even change this Sunday. So it's important for the offense to continue to show that promise that they showed last week. Now, what they're going to have to face on the opposite side is a Washington defense that, when you look at it on paper, the front four is stacked. Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, Chase Young. It's about as good of a front four as you can possibly get. But the issue is they've been really underperforming. They gave up 16 points to the Arizona Cardinals first game of the season. It's the Cardinals. But then after that, 33 points to the Denver Broncos, 34 points to the Philadelphia Eagles. God, who else? 37 points to the Buffalo Bills, 40 points to the Chicago Bears. The Bears ran all over them last week on Thursday night. So this Washington defense, especially this front four, has no doubt been underperforming. They have been very disappointing thus far this season. Now that should be a sign, and it should be a good opportunity for the Falcons to really continue to capitalize and gain more momentum on offense and have a big game. And they definitely, honestly could. But I'm going to tell you straight up also, that should be a red flag, because that has a trap written all over it. We'll talk about in just a second. And obviously you talk about it. This is a good opportunity for the Falcons to build. Obviously, that offense, you would love to see a Tyler Algier or Bijan Robinson. That is definitely what I look at this thing. And I say Washington got ran all over by Chicago. Arthur Smith should be pulling up that tape and doing what Chicago did, opening up those lanes for a Tyler Algier and especially a Bijan Robinson, getting them out into open space. I think is where the bread and butter of this game has to be at. And then talking about Sam Howell, the starting quarterback for the Washington Commanders, a guy who you can really say him and Desmond Ridder, they're coming out the same draft class and kind of in a similar boat. But whereas Ridder has shown promise at times and Sam Howell has also, it really feels like Ridder is finally making some growth in the right direction, to where Sam Howell, it has not looked as promising the last few weeks. It's been very up and down. Now, Sam Howell's offensive coordinator is Eric Bieniemy. That name sound familiar? It does. That was basically Andy Reid's right-hand man in Kansas City. The guy, for years, we could not figure out why he didn't get a head coaching job. That is the guy in Washington, the offensive coordinator. So one way or another, this defense, even though you look at it and say they have been sputtering the past few weeks, this defense still has their work cut out for them. Because Washington's offense, with how Eric Bieniemy, we obviously see in Kansas City what he learns from, that is a offense that if you let the top come off, they have great potential, especially with a guy like Terry McLaurin, with a guy like, I believe, Antonio Gibson still there. Curtis Samuel. Washington can do damage with this offense, but Washington has a big issue with inefficiency. So this defense is going to have to find those weak spots and capitalize on it and hold Washington. This defense has not given up more than, I want to say, 25 points a game so far. 24 points, actually. So this is a big spot for this defense and kind of a test as well, going up against a play caller like that and a Washington team that is really 50-50. You don't know what team is going to show up, but nonetheless, they can be a tough test. Now I'm going to talk about this. This all adds up and equals into what could be a trap game for the Falcons. The last 2 years, the Falcons and Commanders, Washington football team, some might even still call them the Redskins, have played, and they have been 2 nail biters to the very end. In 2021, the Falcons led much of the game. The offense looked amazing, but the defense could not hold up. And Taylor Heineke, that name sounds very familiar now because he is the guy sitting behind Desmond Ridder, was the starting quarterback for Washington. Last year, it was a defensive slugfest in the rain. The Falcons were down basically at the goal line in Washington last year, could have won the game. Marcus Mariota pass was tipped, ended up being intercepted. When you're looking at that, man, that is one of those games where you look back last year and you say that is really where it started to all fall apart for the Falcons. You would definitely think we are due for a win versus Washington, and we are. But also this Washington team and Ron Rivera has been able to get the best of Arthur Smith the past 2 years. Now, obviously, it's not the same quarterback. It's not the same style of offense. It's not the same confinements. Obviously, 2021, we were at home, but completely different situation. We have established one thing. We protect the bins. However, nonetheless, this is a trap game. This Washington team is able to has our number. Let's face it, these last few years. So we're going to have to come out, and I really feel like we're going to have to finish off on those jobs we weren't able to finish these past few years, which is we were able to get some all right offense going against Washington at times, and we played pretty good defense. However, you're going to have to be able to finish the job on offense because Washington's offense, we talked about it, they can be inefficient at times. Falcons offense is going to have to show up in this one, and we're going to have to be locked in 100%, or else this could be a trap game. This is not a guaranteed win by any metric. Let's get into the keys of victory. First one, protect Desmond Ridder. Do not let Washington's inability to get to the quarterback these past few weeks fool you. The guys on Washington's defense are as good as any front four in the National Football League. If Caleb McGarry and this offensive line, Chris Lindstrom, Drew Dahlman, you name it, if they show up half-ass, not playing at full strength, not ready for a dogfight, this could be their breakout game because that is what they are waiting for. They are waiting for a game to pop off. And they might see the Falcons as an opportunity. We cannot let Desmond Ridder happen to what happened to him versus Detroit or even versus Jacksonville. It can't happen. We're going to have to protect him throughout, and it's going to have to hold up. Obviously, these are some dogs. That's why I also say this is going to be another game where obviously you're going to have to run the football. You're going to have to get that running game involved, especially getting a guy like Bijan Robinson and maybe even a Cordero Patterson. This is where maybe you see him make an impact of sorts. Get them in space, have them make plays. And then that really goes into the second key of victory. When you have your opportunity to distribute the ball, obviously, I think this is a big running backs and tight ends game. But also, DJ Moore last week, 8 catches, 230 yards, 3 TDs versus Washington. Man, that does, I think, especially when looking at a Drake London and a Mac Hollins, that can spell a promising sign. This game, I'm going to say, it can go one or two ways that I'll talk about in just a minute. But this is a game where you get a Bijan Robinson involved. And I've been talking about you can't overuse Bijan, but he is, I feel like, going to have to be. This is a game where you do definitely try to get him involved. A Tyler Algier, a Jonnu Smith, a Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts finally, it looked like he is getting closer and closer to that 2021 Kyle Pitts last week, getting him involved more. You're going to have to continue to do that here. And then the third key of victory is just rattle Sam Howell. Coverage is obviously going to have to hold up, but if you get this has to, honestly, because Washington's O-line is not very good either. This is going to have to be a game where you get to Sam Howell, You rattle this young man and you force him into making mistakes. If that happens, then the Falcons can win this game. You get the offense going and you rattle Sam Howell, Falcons should be able to win this game. But how do I think this game turns out? I think it's going to be a lot like the game last year. I definitely think that you are going to see our defense rattle Sam Howell. But also, I think Desmond Ridder, he could be in for a little bit of tough sledding. But you want to keep him protected as much as possible, and you still want to give him opportunities to get the ball to the playmakers. I think the Falcons win 19-14. It's going to be a tough sledding ball game. I think Bijan Robinson, I think this is going to be another game where you really see him pop off. I think on the defensive side of the ball, A.J. Terrell is going up against a guy like Terry McLaurin, who obviously is, you can maybe argue, maybe the best receiver A.J. has faced all season at 100% health. A.J. has returned to that 2021 form, but this is going to be another tough test for him on Sunday, guarding a guy like Terry McLaurin, who is no doubt maybe the most valuable part of that Washington offense. So if you're able to lock Terry McLaurin down, you get pressure to Sam Howell, the defense is going to be all right. And they've shown they can do that. You get your playmakers involved on offense, you have a good chance of winning this game. As I said, it is time to get back at Washington. We let them get us for 2 years. It's time to get our revenge of sorts on Sunday. So let's go get this win. I'll be at the game. Ridder, stay undefeated at home. We know what the goal is. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.